over the past 20 or 30 years, there have been quite a number of Christians who've been delving into the question of the lingering scars, the lingering pain of the Reformation, and how one can bridge that rift, the antagonism that was let loose in those heady days of the Reformation has just continued through and in a certain sense even become more and more politicized through the centuries and become more and more a part of the history of the Western world and of Christendom. And so these Christians, a number of them with whom we're befriended, they have given a lot of thought to this. And one of the ideas that has emerged from their discussions, from their meditations on this, is the idea of identification with the sense of those who've gone before. This idea means speaking straight about the things that went wrong in the past, not holding back, not trying to justify or excuse behavior that did create pain and did create a lot of division, and yet somehow to see that by recognizing, by acknowledging the things that have gone wrong in the past, and seeking together, particularly as descendants of various sides of a conflict, seeking together for ways to overcome that division, that a real healing can happen, something special can happen. And as the century, as around 2010 and all the planning was underway for this big Jubilee, 2017, 500 years Lutheran Reformation, there was a real concern among some that this could easily become just a celebration of Protestantism, right? A celebration of Lutheranism, without recognizing that there were many other parties in the Reformation, and many of them were, in fact, victims of Luther's Reformation and Luther's orthodoxy and of the politics that emerged from it. And in particularly the Anabaptists were victims both of the Catholics and of the Lutherans and the Calvinists and the Zwinglian Swiss Protestants. So they had a longing to have some aspect of 2017 be more comprehensive than just remembering Luther and just glorifying what Luther did, as important as it was. So they started preparing already in 2011, inwardly and outwardly, also doing research to see how one could have an event, if you like, one might call it a fringe event to the big Reformation festivals, and really try and bring out some of the other aspects of the Reformation that were not so pretty, also not, and in which the Lutherans did not shine so positively. And they invited a range of descendants of Anabaptists, Mennonites and Amish, and also representatives from the Bruderhof, to come and join them for that event in Wittenberg, October of 2017. And it was in that context that I think really something happened that opened the hearts and touched the hearts of everybody who was there. And as you said before, one can almost become jaded sometimes about all the talk about everything that has happened and how does one move forward with it. The people that I know who were there tell about it just with a glow in their eyes about what happened in that experience, a real meeting of hearts. Just a few weeks after the conference, the representatives from the Catholic Church in Austria who had been there, also on behalf of Christoph Schönborn, wrote to us at the Bruderhof and asked us, would we consider having a community in Austria? It's been 450 years since the last Anabaptist community of goods was dissolved in Austrian territory. Isn't it high time that this witness somehow reemerges in Austria? And we felt like we couldn't just say no, right? We had never we didn't have any active interest in Austria, but we did have an active interest in increasing our presence in continental Europe. And we didn't feel like we could just ignore the movement of the Spirit that we had experienced in Wittenberg, and which was patently gripping the hearts of those people from Austria who were inviting us. So on the back of that, my wife and I were seconded in 2018 to come to Austria and to explore, are these people who are inviting us speaking for a bigger circle of people, or is this just a few individual opinions? Is there a legal framework and a societal framework that might welcome an Anabaptist community after such a long gap? And the short answer is yes. We just met an enthusiastic and warm response among everybody that we met. Free churches, the Lutherans, the Swiss Reformed. It was everybody here, also especially then the Catholics, extended a real hand of welcome and enthusiasm. And one thing led to another. We established a small community then in 2019, and now a bigger community in 2022. And it is really, I can only say, it's something that goes beyond what we as human beings have done. It's not anything that my wife and I or any of us from the Bruderhof have done. And it's not even anything that Christoph Schönborn or Catholic representatives have done. The time was ripe, and it was just a real privilege to be a part of starting something new here in Austria.
Yeah, I recall, Kim, that it was actually a little bit unnerving, the level of welcome that was extended to us. You know, we as individuals, or the Bruderhof as a community, it wasn't about us, but about something beyond, that we were allowed to play a part in, some knitting together of the body of Christ again. And it's interesting, right? The two communities that the Bruderhof now has in Austria are both in former monasteries. One in Retz on the Czech border in a former Dominican cloister, and the other right outside Vienna, Amstein, in a former Franciscan convent. So that's just a kind of nifty sign of spiritual continuity.